Hey, what's up guys? This is Russell with Hydraulic Tips. We're going to be doing a 64 Impala wagon. It's going to be a pretty fun build because it's completely different than most of the other 64 Impalas, the standard non-wagon. Going to be doing this a completely hidden setup for the most part. Should be pretty fun. I'm going to be showing you step by step on exactly what I've done, and you know, you can kind of do it, similar things to do your setup. Now, I'm going to be showing you everything. You know, I don't claim to be a master welder, so just keep that in mind. If you know nothing about welding, I'm going to include a link in the comments section about, you know, kind of how to weld and just kind of a brief rundown. I'm going to include probably one of the best videos that I've seen, kind of the easiest to understand. I'm sure there's a ton of videos out there, but this one's kind of easy to understand to give you a general idea if you don't know how to weld, which I'm not the greatest welder in the world by any means. Never took any classes or anything. It's just school of hard knocks, just learning as I go. So, you know, take a look at the video that I'm going to post in the comments section about different types of welding with MIG welding. You can do stick welding, whatever you choose or whatever you have options to do. So, so just do the best you can. Remember that the most important thing is to make sure that it penetrates the metal. If you don't have a strong enough welder, it's not going to penetrate, which means it's not going to stick, it's not going to hold. So make sure that you've got one that's going to hold. If it's a 110, chances are it's not really going to hold very well, so just remember that. 220 is definitely a better option. You want to make sure that the heat is turned up high and that the flow is right, and you can check your welder. Most of them have on the inside flap, you know, kind of a range of what you can use or what you should use. Now if you're a better welder, you'll adjust it to however you see fit. I'm not the greatest welder in the world, so I always try to go based on the chart there, or maybe a little bit different. I always do like a test piece just to find out if I'm on the right track. So make sure you watch that video. It's very informative, helps. So we're gonna get started on this Impala. We're gonna do the setup first, and paint and everything else come later. Most of what you're gonna run into is going to be in this video. On how to put the setup and everything like that in. We're not going to cover reinforcing frames in this video. I've got other videos that are associated with that, but on this one it's just purely install from start
First thing
to finish.
I've done is taken the batteries against the angle iron and line them up to determine exactly how long the rack needs to be. Now you start right on the edge on one side. Now on the other side, what I've done is I've left a little access, trying to give a little bit of room for the batteries to swell, because they're probably going to. Now once you've cut this one, I'm going to cut 3 more just like it, so I'm going to have a total of 4 just like this piece right here. So once I've cut this one and measured it, I'm going to line up the rest of them, mark them, and cut 4 of them. So now I've got all 4 cut, and now it's time to make the side pieces. So what I've done is overlapped each one like so, and now I'm going to put the batteries in and square them up. Put the batteries in to measure the distance and try to square them up, and a good way to make sure that it is square, and as you can see, the batteries aren't sitting in there 100% right. And a good way to do it is to take you a normal, you know, 90-degree square and put it up next to it, just like that, and you can see exactly if it's square or not. And just keep playing with it until you get to that point to where it is at 90 degrees. So now that it's squared up, you can take from this point, making sure that the overlap is flush right there, and on the other side as well. Make sure it's flush. Now you can take and go on each side of your on the sides here and mark where to cut, which will be right in there. Now what I always like to do to make sure that I give just a little bit of swell room is, instead of marking it directly next to the angle, I always put it about a 1/4 inch away from that, from where it would be 100% perfect. So a 1/4 inch more, give you a little bit more room. Also, when you're doing that, which actually you can see on the other side there, already marked it. It's a little bit further. So you also have to take into account for the cut. So with mine, I always cut them at an angle so they meet like a picture frame. So you have to take that into consideration, the saw blade width when you're doing this. So if you give it just a little bit extra, it's okay. Gives your batteries a little room to swell, and gives you a little bit of room for that saw blade to take into consideration. Now you can see that I have cleaned up the edges for a good weld. Want to make sure that they're real nice and good, and I've left a little bit of room in between so they can swell. I'm going to tack these where they are right now, just tacking them, just to use that square as a template. So after I get done tacking that in, I'm going to take the batteries out and then cut them at an angle, and you'll see that here in just a second. Right after I tack welded everything into place with them overlapping, what I did was I took a Sharpie and a ruler and pretty much just marked the corners. So basically I wanted the line to be really straight. So all I did was took basically a piece like this and went to the absolute corner right there and then ran it straight out. So once I made those, once I ran those, then I took my angle grinder and with a cutting wheel on there and literally just cut straight down that line to where both ends are the exact same and they will meet up together. And after I had cut each one, I would go ahead and weld it together so the rest of them didn't move. So that's where I am right now. In addition to that, my center pieces that divide the batteries, what I've done is notched out the ones that actually go in the center. So when they sit in, they'll sit flush. So they'll go something like this. I'll run a weld straight down the center, and I'll probably go ahead and throw the batteries back in there just to make sure that this is exactly where it needs to be before tacking it and then fully welding it. The most important welds are the ones on the bottom side, because you're most likely not gonna grind those down or anything like that. Most of your ones on the inside, nobody's ever gonna see, so you don't really grind those down for the most part. The only ones that I really ground down are the ones that are 100% visible, which are gonna be your corners. Other than that, you don't have to grind them down at all. If you can weld good, then just go ahead and leave it that way if that's what you want to do. When I was learning to weld, I welded like crap, so I learned to grind really good. So now I can weld a lot better than I did before. But basically, the corners, that's about the only thing that you really want to grind down if you choose to. Is pretty much done on its side. I'm going to go ahead and start mocking up the hold downs, and as you can see right here, pretty much giving a little bit of room on each side. So I'm just gonna go ahead and make one of them and then measure the rest. So just gonna make me a nice little line here, and after I've cut it, then I will measure to find the center point to know exactly the halfway point on where I need to drill them out for the hold downs. Now we got our 4 battery hold down mounts cleaned, cut, and ready to be mounted onto the rack. We drilled out the holes and tried to center them as best we could on the pieces, and yeah, they're ready to be gone and put on the battery rack there. Now that you've cut these and you've centered and drilled your holes, you want to find the midway point of your rack to be able to point the center out of where the post should go. So find the midway point between this bar and this bar, which for me is roughly 6.5, roughly. Mark it. Then you want to take your piece here, measure it, find your halfway point, which is going to be, what is that? Right here. So that way you know where to line them up. Actually, I should have done it this way, but you get the point. Alright, so they'll line up right there. Then all you gotta do is tack them in. So I got them welded in place now, and the only thing that I have grinded off is at the top where it's somewhat visible, but along the sides you definitely want to leave those alone. Along the bottom, leave those alone. Now you want to find the halfway point between the end of the rack and the hold downs. Mark that, because that's where the posts are going to be to weld to the removable parts of the rack.